Hello, this is a brief overview of the IPP Demonstration Sites
Oh,
project. I'm
great.
Kelsey Martin, the Demonstration Sites project lead from the Herring Center for Inclusive Education at the University of Washington. Here is a little background information about the Demonstration Sites project. In the fall of 2019, OSPI launched the Inclusionary Practices Professional Development Project. The Herring Center partnered with OSPI to coordinate and lead this larger part of the statewide project, creating model demonstration sites that highlight inclusionary practices across the state of Washington. The Demonstration Sites project was developed to provide educators from around the state with the opportunity to observe inclusionary practices in action, meet with school teams, collect artifacts that aid in systems change, and learn about how to implement inclusionary practices in different school contexts. We are on track, so by the winter of 2021, 60 model demonstration sites across all 9 ESD regions will provide professional development to visiting schools. Our demonstration sites highlight the diversity in our state. They include urban schools, rural schools, and schools in some of our largest and smallest districts across Washington. In collaboration with Herring Center Inclusion Specialists, demonstration sites host visiting schools to showcase high leverage inclusionary practices. By sharing these practices and opening their doors to teachers, administrators, families, and community members, it allows visitors to see best practices in action and apply them in their schools. At the same time, the demonstration sites themselves continue to grow their inclusive cultures and refine their practices that contribute to equitable learning for all students. Our demonstration sites are spread out across our state and highlight a variety of inclusionary practices. For example, Hidden River in Monroe School District focuses on inclusive PLCs, MTSS, and highlights an inclusive master schedule. Meadow Ridge Elementary in Meade, Washington showcases their PBIS, strong data analysis protocols, and RTI. We have Brennan K-8 on the Olympic Peninsula in Jefferson County, a school of 80 students. Brennan highlights their differentiated instruction and family engagement. Evergreen High School in Clark County is another one of our exemplar sites that showcases co-planning and co-teaching and how these inclusionary practices have shifted and changed the culture of their school. This provides just a few examples of the inclusionary practices our current 11 demonstration sites are sharing as part of their larger school journey. So there are some founding principles that drive our model demonstration sites work. To start, in every school, there are things that are working well. In education, we have the tendency to examine the problems associated with our practices instead of examining what's working well, why it's working well, and how we can use that information to make things better. This asset-based approach is a productive way for schools to leverage their strengths to become more inclusive. Also, inclusion is not a special education initiative, but a cultural shift in philosophy and practice. If we simply change the way we deliver special education services without considering the culture of the school or how all students engage in teaching and learning, we will never make the changes we need to truly impact student learning. Through the course of our webinars and by way of scheduling virtual visits, districts, schools, and communities can learn more about what steps are taken to make these shifts to a more inclusive school, including instructional strategies, systems and structures that allow for more inclusive learning communities, and what was the impetus for schools making these changes in the first place, and how did they engage stakeholders, the district, and what are the other strategic moves they made to facilitate lasting and sustainable change? What's exciting about the demonstration sites is they are in various stages of their journeys. And whether they're in year 1 of their journey or if they're 6 years in, they all have plans for continuous improvement. They recognize that as new students enter their buildings or join in virtually, and as they collect more information about the best ways students learn, that their professional practices need to reflect that learning in responsive and meaningful ways. We are also practicing this as we get feedback about what schools, districts, educators, administrators need. We are shifting and changing what we are doing to maximize our impact. We developed this project because we experienced the impact on visiting schools had when they saw inclusionary practices in action, those feelings, the dynamics. It was such an effective way for visiting schools to get why this works so well. And we experienced the impact on our demonstration sites by hosting visiting schools. Going virtual, just like for districts across the state, it's encouraged us to develop new innovations, make some mistakes and learn, and engage in true reflective practice. And we've adapted and grown in response to what we've learned. in addition to experiencing many successes in terms of our reach and how these learnings inform us along the way. There are so many stories and experiences and events that shape why inclusion matters to each and every one of us. It might be our own personal stories, experiences, and relationships, or our professional ones. We might be responding to what 80 years of research tells us about the benefits of inclusive schools, including the numerous benefits for all students when they're engaged in general education environments and content. What speak to us might be our beliefs about equity, social justice, or disability justice, or our passion to ensure that we provide feelings of community and membership in our schools for everyone, and that this carries through into broader society. It also means acknowledging the layers of marginality that exist, and that those can create barriers in our organizational structures, reinforce institutional discrimination and fear. We know there are existing biases based on what people have experienced, including implicit biases that exist around the social construct of disability. Our Washington State demonstration sites are addressing inequities in education and are working to create more equitable learning environments. They are engaging with families and communities to change the present and future landscapes in our schools. Our goals for the Demonstration Sites project are both simple and complex. We want to make sure that when school personnel or teams visit demonstration sites or in current circumstances hear about their journeys, that it provides a transformational learning experience. To do this, our demo sites are studying and implementing best practices and model demonstration site replication to ensure that our visitors or participants have an experience where they are inspired and leave with ideas for implementation in their schools. We also want to create peer learning communities between demonstration sites that build professional networks in our state. Through this project, we aren't only impacting visiting schools, but are working with demonstration sites to continue to evolve and change as they learn more about their students and best practices, or as their school culture continues to change. Because one of our founding principles is that inclusion is a cultural shift in philosophy and practice, demonstration sites show that when we shift our mindsets and put best practices in place for students with disabilities and consider how we can implement these practices in general education context and in content, it improves outcomes for all students in our schools. An important goal for this project is to improve the social and academic outcomes for students with and without disabilities, and to show that when we do things that are better for students, it's typically better for adults too. As we share some of what our demonstration sites are doing to innovate and sharing some of the challenges, we want you to leave us some key takeaways that you can bring with you back to your school team. This will include information, tools, and supports you can use to build, implement, and sustain an inclusive school, even in these challenging times. We know this isn't exactly the same as being able to see these schools and classrooms in action, but are grateful you are learning more about our demonstration sites through our webinars, virtual visits, and artifacts. And that when our demonstration sites open our doors again, you will take the opportunity to engage in that professional learning. Last spring, our project also pivoted to respond to distant learning needs in our communities, and we moved our in-person demonstration site visits to webinars. With our first cohort, 5 demonstration sites shared both an overview of their school's journey and a deep dive into inclusionary practices. Deep dives included multi-tiered systems of support, PBIS, collaboration, and co-teaching and co-planning. These webinars were created both in response to attendees' evaluation feedback, asking for a deep dive, as well as our demonstration sites wanting the opportunity to go more in depth around specific inclusionary practices. Along with the webinars and virtual visits, demonstration sites provide artifacts like master schedules, handbooks, tools they have used and continue to use on their journeys to becoming an inclusive school. Currently, in the 2021 school year, Cohort 1 is hosting virtual visits for individual school teams. Through these virtual visits, school teams are able to meet with demonstration sites. When visiting teams request a visit from our website, we take that information and match them to a demonstration site that meets their needs. Therefore, the visits are tailored to the interests and needs of the visitors. Cohort 2 will host 2 large webinars this fall and winter, and then we'll start to host virtual visits as well. To register for a webinar or sign up for a virtual visit, please visit or continue to take a look at our website. Here's a little bit more about how we are currently engaging in, sharing, and disseminating our demonstration sites work. Our goal for the Demo Sites project is achieved across 3 main activities. First in yellow are virtual visits where schools share an overview of their school's journey and an in-depth look into an inclusionary practice. Second in blue are projects designed to build professional networks and disseminate information. Last in green are the ways in which the demonstration sites are moving forward on their path of continuous growth. Herring Center inclusion specialists are not only working with schools to help capture their journey, work on model demonstration site replication and dissemination, but are also responsive to the demo site's professional development needs, and either provide that professional learning or source PD for our demo sites so they can continue on that path of continuous growth. The Demonstration Sites project aims to have a significant impact on inclusive practices across Washington state. This information is important because it both informs professional learning we offer, but also can provide information to districts around the state about the efficacy of this kind of professional learning. Especially in these times, we want to make sure that when school personnel or teams visit demonstration sites or hear their stories, it continues to provide that transformational learning experience. To do this, our demonstration sites have engaged in professional learning about storytelling, which I'll talk about more in just a minute. Also, our demonstration sites are studying and implementing best practices and model demonstration site replication to ensure that our visitors have an experience where they are inspired and leave with ideas for implementation in their schools. It's our goal that by the end of the second year, we have created a how-to manual based on the works our demo sites have done, and that these will be offered in both video and as a written document with actionable steps for schools and districts to use. We also have a goal to create peer learning communities between demonstration sites that build professional networks in our state. And we are following up with our visitors to see how it's going after they attend one of our webinars or a virtual visit. What inclusionary practices are they implementing based on what they have learned? And this information is helping us determine if there's additional professional development needed to aid schools in lasting inclusion reform. We don't want people to say when they visit a demo site, I want to move to that school, but rather, I want to do that at my school. As we researched for this project, we aim to uncover what practices were essential to having a lasting impact on education reform. Storytelling came to the forefront of our research time after time. We knew telling stories of our demonstration sites was going to be a critical part of our work. Our demonstration sites engaged in a summer institute focused on storytelling. An award-winning NPR journalist, Gabriel Spitzer, worked with our demonstration sites on how to most effectively tell a story. Our Herring Center team and the IPP demonstration sites teams learned how to put a story together, including ways to cut through the noise and emphasize the human part of a story. They learned that it's okay to be human too, not just okay, but helpful. Although our storytelling was intended to make an impact on our visiting schools, it also ended up having an impact on our demonstration sites as well. These sites developed a deeper and more connected relationship to their story and their school's journey towards a more inclusive education for all. Our demonstration sites share stories of their struggle to get started and the enormous impact inclusive practices have had on their entire school community. They share stories of students and families and the benefits of inclusion, and of educators and school leaders who had their own philosophical changes that resulted in a more inclusive school and the impact this had on positive academic and social outcomes for all students. As part of our demonstration sites work, we're examining who's participating in our project and where they're participating from. This gives us some valuable information of our impact and reach, in addition to regions where we might need to do some additional partnering and outreach. One of the goals of the Demonstration Sites project is to provide transformational professional development to visiting schools that results in schools across Washington state implementing inclusionary practices. Data from visiting schools allows us to be responsive and to collect information from attendees to see how demo sites are impacting visiting schools through 3-month implementation fidelity checks. It also provides information about regions that are not accessing our professional development so we can discover more effective ways to engage with those communities. We encourage your districts to engage in our webinars and virtual visits. You can read about which inclusionary practices each school is highlighting, watch some of our already existing webinars, and see which demo site or demo sites is the best fit for your school or district. We are also examining professional networks or collaborations and learning communities among and between schools who visit our demonstration sites. These professional networks provide us with another measurement to determine the reach of our demo sites work across Washington state. Additionally, we're using social network analysis to understand, monitor, and evaluate the implementation process of inclusionary practices in participating schools. Social network analysis is a well-validated methodology for investigating collaboration and intervention diffusion through graphical analysis. The methodology allows us to identify and connect demonstration sites within professional networks. For example, we're able to identify how schools are connected through school visits, shared materials, and communication. These data will help to provide information to schools across Washington state about what schools are hubs for specific inclusionary practices and/or how schools are responding to one another. We provide similar information in our By the Numbers section on our website that provides helpful information about who we need to engage further. So that's a little bit about the Demonstration Sites project, goals, founding principles, and impact. To learn more about the Demonstration Sites project and OSPI's Inclusionary Practices Professional Development Project, or to view any of our webinar recordings, PowerPoints, or artifacts, please visit these websites and feel free to email us at uwdemosites@uw.edu. Thank you.